companion to the Loki, with the bans would have been arrayed here against Dusty. Remember, these teams were banning for the other opposing team only, meaning that if they're, well, you know what, Yoinkanda, they can play Penny if they'd like, because it's only banned for Dusty. I've got to assume that Dusty in their scrims have been doing some devious things with the Penny Parker, that they got target banned both times.
I think you may be right. It is at least going to be Hovered. This also does technically mean, if you ban the Penny, that your opponents can't pre-armor up as effectively as you. You can roll in with the 50 armor thanks to that Rocket Penny team up. Your opponents are limited to the 25. It's a very minor feature in the grand scheme of things, but every little helps. It's the entire reason why these teams do drop the Rocket Battle Rebirth Beacon at the start of games.
Good health economy starts in the spawner room, Tetcher. Good practices start at home. Bin and T'Challa will be where we really cut our teeth for this one. And there it is. Blackso coming out with the Penny Parker for the extra armor. The good economy. You love to see it. Heading into our eco round. Gonna roll a few deagles, you know?
That's a Squirrel Girl that's made it out of spawn, speed boosted by the Jeff, as Dusty have decided it's time to just maximize damage output. They're not going for someone who can just burst backliners like that Psylocke of Etsu. They're not going for a big high ground sieger like Mokamura, who has brought out the Human Torch. They have decided, well, it's just time to throw things and just see what happens.
Yeah, no Ultron this time around. The greater damage of a Squirrel Girl could have some issues up against Mokamura. Hitting those aerial targets of a Squirrel Girl is not the easiest thing in the world, but fear not, that's not really Orion's job. I said Frosty is going to be responsible for that one. A small step of fire is currently set upon by Dusty, but an opening pick onto Etsu there from 424. Oh, Etsu, the superstar of this roster, has already got that's a huge amount of fragging power now missing for Yoinkanda. How do you get rid of a Groot on this point?
Magneto just went into orbit here. Mokamura will get the counter pickup, finally able to find Cloak and Dagger, making this a 1-for-1 so far. No one's been able to pick up this first point at this stage. Nice Squirrel Guard to try and freeze Magneto in place. This is a lot of focus onto Frankie, who has the Diamond Form and get out, giving at least some of the positioning over to the side of Yoinkanda.
With Blacks down, contesting this objective is getting more and more risky. Supernova already generated by Mokamura. We talked about how quickly he gains these ultimates, and when you're looking to players within the Fire Cyclones to heal them, that's when people start to fall through the gaps that were left elsewhere. Blacks with the Vibranium Energy Sword will pick up a couple of others, and Dusty, they are unable to convert on their 5 versus 6.
Finally, the first point goes over to Yoinkanda multiple minutes into the game, but they've been able to pick it up. But what you usually see here on this map is teams do try to contain in this little hallway, and that's going to be a lot harder when Orion, with this unexpected Squirrel Girl, is going to make it harder to stay in one spot, as she'll just be constantly being sieged by Acorns.
Yeah, Mokamura grabbed early, forces Etsu and Blacks to sneak around in the back for a moment. Snays disengaging as best they can using the metallic curtains. They're constantly taking damage from these group walls and has to bubble themselves as well to try and stop from getting grabbed by the incoming Emma Frost. Frosty, speaking of which, is iced over by Etsu. Just cannot stand up to all of the incoming damage. Yoinkanda doing their best to just brawl out on the point and keep this one contested. The unbeatable Skrull Tsunami is levied now by Orion, but it should not be surviving for long. Etsu begins the dance of the butterflies, and the dance of the French people is the most dangerous.
Blacks is also in there with that Captain America on the Freedom Charge, and they have freed up the point as Dusty are once again sent back to spawn. Frosty even tracks their drops to just under half HP as Etsu wants to keep the pressure on, does not want to give time for Dusty to regroup.
You got to continuously worry about all these little nooks and crannies. You know, the Etsu and Blacks, they'll be sneaking behind like a boogle of weasels if you give them a moment. 4-2-4 though. Where to put this strangling prison is the question. Well, it might be too late to find the follow-up. Orion has already been caught in the back. The weasels, they've chewed through the power lines. Still, there's enough power behind this. Oh, where'd Frosty go? flattened absolutely by Snaze's Meteor M. If you let the Meteor M get through the ban and pick phase, well, you're in deep trouble when you're a Punisher ulting.
Portal, 98, 99, barely touched at the last possible second, but now it's a hold at the portal as the damage output is coming in. No ultimates available for Yoinkanda, but every step out of this body box coming onto the point. They will be able to touch Dust, and the Butterfly 4 Etsu is ready though. Just wait for them to step out the portal, see if you can wait out that Eternal Bond from CMD with that God of Mischief as they look to push on in, as Dusty will hold on 99, starting to get some percentage on the board, but here comes the Pirate Prison dance to the Butterfly, and that is going to be Dusty dropping extremely low. Straggling Prison comes on out to look for the counter, and they will get Sylvie before the boundary comes out.
Orion almost with a fully charged Dark Maelstrom, but can't really do enough damage through the Eternal Bond to pick up any frags off the back of this one. Dusty still in control, but they've used most of their resources. Orion needs a couple more hits to have that Eye of Agamotto ready to go, but has already lost out on their co-Vanguard. A lot of the spacing here taken away. CMD is desperately trying to summon doppelgangers to keep the numbers up for Dusty in the output as well, so Yoinkanda, scared of the God of Mischief, will be forced to disengage elsewhere.
And suddenly Dusty going from the flank, the little bit disorganized at the beginning of the game, Pookle of Weasels, as you said, and into the much more organized business of Ferrets to hold that doorway. They are keeping control of the point, but it's only going to take one recap from Yoinkanda to take this round number one.
Keep going.
Absolute perfection demanded of Dusty if they want to try and compete here on the Imperial Institute of Science. An Aegis raised before the culling turrets in order to make sure there's all the more protection. Snaze is feeling a little bit overwhelmed over here towards the back. Orion, big plans, gets both strategists and picks Sylvie as their victim of the day. That does mean the Cloak and Dagger will survive the onslaught that was Levy's here, and Yoinkanda are striking back in the back. It's going to be Blacks moving forward with a Freedom Charge, plenty of additional HP, and well, when Yoinkanda press 3 Qs, it's difficult to survive it without a strategist ultimate of their own.
They're trying to delay this. They've got the thing coming in. Triple Vanguard to try and hold this line. Frosty rushing back in. Orion is completely trapped off the point here. Monk Muda tracking them down with the help of Etsu as the point is just being held, just about to hit overtime as Dusty are still delaying, but with Fraggy boxing down, it is now going to be Yoinkanda who flip it over on 97%. Can Dusty get anyone onto the point? Here comes the crazy Cloak and Dagger, but is picked off before the feet touch the floor.
You know what? Very lore accurate to have Frankie boxing on the thing, no? Managed to make it back just in time. You know what? Dusty played Yoinkanda very close here. I'm already quite impressed by what I'm seeing. For Frankie, though, it's been a toughie. 2 and 5, taking a bunch of damage, unable to dish out that much. Monk Mother and Etsu can consistently try and outkite Frankie, even with the constant dashes available to that Captain America. However, when it comes to the Emma, she's a little bit slower. And if you find yourself in range of a Carbon Crush from Emma when you're a Psylocke or a Human Torch, that's on you, gamer.
But that Human Torch so far, Monk Muda has been staying extremely safe on this Human Torch. Monk Muda has been staying in the air, avoiding Carbon Crushes, and has 15 final hits already. Starting to do extremely good turns of damage. The Squirrel Girl will once again be returning. No more Vanguard. What is that?
That is mod admins mods.
That's their crosshair?
Mod sequences genome with CRISPR. I need the exact genetic code that you have so I can make sure that it never happens again.
Invisible boundary is not available. Will finally get popped just as it comes off charge. Media M to try and deal with Grizzy, who dropped the Eternal Bond as Frosty is pushing into that boundary to try and melt through the defenders. No one is going down. Finally, Etsu will be sniped by Orion early on the Squirrel Girls once again. Dusty get the first pickup, but they are once again struggling to get onto the point as CMD and 424 are taken down.
I think that was a meaty 3-person Terror Cape going through as well. Oh, Monk Mudder. Nasty damage coming out of the Human Torch. Already has himself yet another Supernova ready to go. 2 Duelist Ultimates, in fact, which cannot be answered for a while until CMD gets 25% more ult chance for an Eternal Bond in response.
Black's charged up with the freedom charge for the opening. Stop it, Observer, as they push on it. They have that unbeatable Squirrel Tsunami as they're trying to push in. Squirrel Guard locked down, down to the butterfly, but Regeneration Domain shuts it down. Etsu is fleeing.
Please remove this from my screen. I feel like every time I see it, it flashbangs me. Here comes the Eternal Bond from the back. CMD is going to drive their team on to the point to claim some of this space. A Terror Cape coming out, and, well, okay, the Observers, they are committing violence against me right now. However, violence also in the hands of Tippy-Toe against the Mutant Lord of Magneto. The Squirrels prove superior. There's no metal on Tippy-Toe.
Squirrel's non-magnetic confirmed as Dusty claim the point, flipping it on 42% for Yoinkanda and begin to build their own charge. Black's already back onto the point, though, is going to force a retreat from that held position as someone has to come deal with them.
Sometimes the Captain America, all you've got to do is just be professionally annoying, you know? Make them make a move. Blacks gets out of there pretty easily. Out comes the Sonic Seduction to try and shut down Johnny when he's at his most vulnerable. Great blockage coming through on the Meteor M. Keeps Frosty safe for a moment longer, but standing in these fire cyclones, the damage might well be overwhelming. Backing out through the healing, helping from CMD to make sure that there is going to be survival, but still no frags were delivered by Frank Castle when he was at his most dangerous. And Dusty is just going to be forced to back away from this one as, well, the Dancer of Butterfly should be able to pick up the dregs and the drags.
No defensive abilities available, and none were used as Etsu picks off any of the retreating members. This is going to force Dusty for a full regroup. Almost exactly right now, even on the board, but Yoinkanda creeping ahead into the lead once again. Ultimate economy-wise, though, 56% is the highest they have for Meteor M compared to Dusty, who have 85% on the God of Mischief and are already charged on that unbeatable Squirrel Tsunami.
Here come the Boogle of Weasels. In the back, they're boogling. And maybe looking to Google a Cape Roots for now. Etsu instead going to move on to Frankie Boxing. All of the pressure going the way of the M of a damage reduction of a diamond form. It's just about enough to grip onto life for a moment longer. And once more, the Eternal Bond drives Dusty forward onto a point where they need to convert on the damage done already. Etsu just playing around the margins, playing at the back. An unbeatable Squirrel Tsunami threatens to overwhelm Snaze. They're just some mammals, but they're so difficult to deal with. A nice cloak moving away, becoming incorporeal for a second to avoid the Meteor M.
Frosty is taken out by Blacks on the flank to even it up here, but it's a little more staggered in favor of Yoinkanda in the overtime. Dusty are inches away from capping the point here to start building themselves back up towards their own 100. Here comes the Psionic Seduction from Frankie Boxing to remove anyone who tries to hold this point and finally let them flip this, because it still means that finally Dusty will take this. Monk Buddha, Supernova knocked down to the ground. Orion sniping Blacks' revenge before 2-4. It's 1 for 1, 2 for 2. As Monk Buddha and Orion are trading shots back and forth.
3K for Orion. Hold up, is it the Squo over here? The Squirrel Girl of all time? 424's coming back with the emergency portal, but I don't think it's going to be entirely necessary. So instead, it's just going to put their Punisher in prime position to set up a culling turret for later.
They're just making sure that they can zone this out, try and hold for every extra inch. It's once again likely going to be up to Blacks to flank and touch that point to give their team overtime and then rush on in to try and delay. Monk Buddha sieging onto the point for a Pyro Prison to set up and damage anyone who tries to hold this. The health bars are disintegrating very quickly from Dusty. CMD is holding on to try and get it as they will activate that God of Mischief as the Meteor M is not enough, but Monk Buddha picks up Frosty.
Oh, the opening pick. It's so difficult to deal with. Squo down, I'm afraid. Blacks kicked into a wall, but using that freedom charge was more than enough HP to go around. Etsu's damage when it comes to the Dancer of Butterflies is shared out amongst Dusty, so no one falls in the midst of all of this. Orion's coming back with an unbeatable Squirrel Tsunami. Monk Buddha makes a fiery landing, a hot drop, some might say, into the midst of Dusty and makes his presence known. Finally gets grabbed up here by Frankie Boxing. Do not show me that crosshair right now. I'm casting. Yoinkanda managing to grab it, and that is going to be the intergalactic spaceport claimed for a 2-0 with 2 incredibly close rounds, Tetcher.
Dusty, they have shown that they have some tricks up their sleeve for both trying to take down their opponents, Yoinkanda, and take us down in the meantime. Monkmudder earning a very well-deserved MVP there, though, on that torch, was just sieging away, punishing the backline, especially onto those Lokis. Loki, of course, has that regeneration domain, but if your entire area is already on fire when it ends, it can be very difficult to capitalize and follow up. Looking into this, looking at it is making me stressed. Walking into this was going to be incredibly difficult. They're going... Blacks is also hovering Penny, but I think that's more for armor. Monkmoto realizing, yeah, okay, I might as well just go into the sky so I don't have to deal with this and just try and avoid the Squirrel Girl shots.
True. The other option, of course, would be to go to Iron Man. Iron Man gets great angles onto a penny nest just by virtue of flight. Turns out the Y-axis can be somewhat overpowered in hero shooters. We'll have to see if that's actually going to be what is delivered here by Yoinkanda, who, I'm just going to say, probably haven't scrimmed against a bunch of penny Squirrel Girl teams.
I mean, who else does this? We have a couple penny players, of course. We have, like, non-OTPs who almost qualified. They have Cringe Alarm.
True.
But are you scrimming against that? And do they run Squirrel Girl? This is such a unique situation to find yourself in.
All right, remember that Groot does have Tex here, can instantly destroy those nests by placing the wall under them, and they essentially get treated as a destructive environment in that case and just get instantly evaporated. So maybe Blacks can make their way around this. Of course, you got to worry about that hard stun for about a second, coming out every 4 seconds. It's a crazy uptime. That's Penny's main value, as well as being able to deny these close-range gankers. And there it is, the expected Iron Man as well, who's going to get some great angles, and Frosty demands the attention, causing them to turn around.
Etsu dropping a little bit low, forced to back out as Blacks is getting targeted down. Wolverine will find the isolation onto Frankie Boxing, who is trying to pull back to the rest of their team, but it's just too much damage. This is looking like a Season 1 comp from Yoinkanda, Season 0, as they are just holding the line right now, pushing forward slow and steady and finding targets when they need. 4-2-4 on the flank with this. Penny tries to land a stun, will be forced to web away as they're targeted down.
It's very surprising to see this without the rocket team up as well. So no BRB coming on through. I thought maybe they run like a triple strategy, so I can go on, nuke the penny. See if I can. You can nuke me all you want. I've already won. Out comes the armor overdrive. It's going to be a lot of damage. That's going to be the invincible postcard actually going awry. Maybe hoping that that group wall would last for a moment longer. Blinded up in the air. The Terror Cape gets some value. Here he comes. Orion, the Squote has arrived. And the invisible boundary has been brought up as well to give Yoinkanda all of the safety that they need inside of this. Frosty caught up in stealth, going up against a stunned Invisible Woman, is unable to deliver on the frag, and Yoinkanda, they've got some fairly good time heading into second.
That is going to be Yoinkanda pushing on through, finding the opening. And Dusty, we've seen this Squirrel Girl, we've seen this Penny Parker bad out multiple times. I'm not seeing it yet, but there are plenty more opportunities, plenty more points on this map for them to show why this is so terrifying for teams.
Oh, the penny haters are going to feel real silly when this spider time comes out. You're going to feel real foolish, Tedge. There goes Frankie Boxing. Grabbed in by the Wolverine. Very strong duelist, and that percentage-based damage just tears through the meaty targets. A quick stun, interrupting the usage of the Thorn Lash wall, but never mind. Black's going to get it out anyway. Another invincible pulse cannon ready to go as Frosty stalls the cart for a second.
Moving around, Frosty getting focused down. You can see Monkmudder in the sky, trying to just punish anyone who goes on the flank. Was able to take out Frosty with the help and the dive of Etsu. Orion with the Squirrel Tsunami, though, is starting to create an opening with that spider time, squirrel time. I'm getting everything combined.
Did I just see Monkmudder tactically nuclear strike a collection of squirrel? What am I looking at right here? Orion forces out the invincible pulse cannon. You know what? Tippy Toe ain't living that one. I hate to break it to you, Tippy Toe heads. She ain't that kind of squirrel.
Jarvis, clip that. Taking down the Squirrel Tsunami. Orion back to the defensive point, sieging from a distance, just trying to find any opening, trying to weaken so that anyone can get in. Frosty has brought out the Iron Man of their own.
All right, a battle in the air. And there'll be plenty of support coming through. Once again, 44's just on the flank, being a menace. Bro loves to menace the back lines. And, well, you know what? They're using up Muckmudder's ammo. I'll give him that. Muckmudder now has unlimited ammo. Problem solved with the armor overdrive, as Frosty on the other side is laying down huge suppressing fire. And now moving forward, they have to try and break through these walls so you can get some good coverage off of this Eternal Bond.
Etsu was caught on the high ground, will be forced to back away, but now with that Eternal Bond bought out, Yoinkanda will have to wait a little bit longer, but they will have an Eternal Bond of their own in just a few moments. And C&D, Scream, Unbeatable Scroll Tsunami coming in, but there's once again the pickup onto Frankie, bouncing Invincible Pulse Cannon into the backline, finds nothing. But in the meantime, Yoinkanda are still cleaning up every single member of Dusty they can find. Straggling Prison comes on in to trap Crazy after that Eternal Bond ends, and they are picked off.
Nice, great counter to the Eternal Bond coming out there from Blacks, knowing that with easy headshots onto a rooted enemy, you can burst through the healing of the Eternal Bond. And now Blacks is really going to be taxing this exit here, creating a nice canopy, you know? Nice lad, interesting architecture. 424 has been beamed down in the back, using up some more of Muckmudder's ammo. Highly valuable penny play as I live and breathe. Blacks just continues to just rain in with the spore bombs, going after Frosty, dropping down to the floor in many ways. No touch. Oh boy.
That's the triple. Yoinkanda looking to earn their spot in the next round to make their way through this lower bracket to play against Virtus Pro. If Dusty cannot find the triple cap here to take us to an overtime, the pressure is on. Good news, Squirrel Girl is quite good on attack as well, as you can see, to try and break defensive positions with it. But it looks like Dusty may finally be sending the Squirrel Girl to bed.
Yeah, might need to be that Orion finds a little bit more impetus for Yoinkanda to respond. Because while the Squirrel Girl... Oh, never mind. You know what? Analysis, why bother? It's Squirrel Girl versus Penny. Like,
on attack.
Everything I know about Marvel Rivals is out the window. All 4 final blows, by the way, do belong to the Squote.
13k damage, has the most damage in the game, has only been KO'd 3 times. They're performing well. The Squirrel Girl is working. It's just they're not able to find enough eliminations. They're not able to find enough pickups to open up and stop Yoinkanda's push.
Okay. Same comp, new energy, baby. I wonder if we're going to see this rocket kept here as well. Getting that additional penny nest is, of course, hyper valuable to try and set up on these flanks and create inhospitable zones that players really can't stay in without being absolutely bombarded with spider mines. No, it's not going to stay. Never mind.
Brought out the Mantis this time for damage and boost to try and buff the Squirrel Girl and that Iron Man to just make it absolute artillery fire. Just make the ground as difficult to stand on with maximum AoE.
All right, everyone just exchanging repulsor blasts for now, building up towards those invincible pulse cannons. However, there's going to be a lot more pressure going the way of Frosty, who's going to be catching those tainted voltages from Etsu on the Winter Soldier. Is a classic hero for Etsu, by the way, during the Marvel Rivals Invitational. That's when we were kind of in the better Winter Soldier wins era of Marvel Rivals Esports. Frosty, though, great beaming off the back of the armor overdrive. They baited in Muckmudder and punished him as he tried to disengage.
Going to get healed back up after being dropped to half HP, pushing on in. Unbeatable Tsunami in the back line for the flank to create an opening, and Dusty, the card is moving forward. Invincible Pulse Cannon is at the ready, looking for anyone who steps onto the point. Here comes the push out from Muckmudder, taken out with the Unibeam. Frosty backs up, looks for it. Can they time it with the dash? No, it will not find the pickup as Blacks takes down the Iron Man.
Just unable to hit the angle was a good thought there, but unfortunately Vertigo being able to survive means that it might well be over for Dusty. And I just remembered what the what the Squirrel Girl cosplay, what Crosshair awakens in me. It looks like the Crosshair that you'd have in like a World War II bomber, like a Lancaster. Like if you're about to drop some 50-kilo dumb bombs, you're looking from like 10,000 feet up through that.
The British have dropped wood in the past. I am not sure about squirrels, though, as they...
Harris would.
They try to zone away. We're seeing CMD with that extra soul rejuvenation here for the protection, but straggling Prison onto the group top members. Kraken impacts, but they will get stunned out by the Eye of Agamotto from Frankie Boxing, but Etsu is still just resetting over and over again. 44 trying to get away to prevent the reset, but they can't pull out in time. Get locked down, and it's the full chase, sending Iron Man to the ground, but they can't find the other elimination. Etsu is a bit far out now.
Reminding me of the times when Etsu on OG was really bringing it very often to VP in the Winter Soldier versus Winter Soldier, and having it brought to him by Frosty. Great use of Repulsor Blast there. Brand new Invincible Pulse Cannon is now available. You could try and use it to try and answer a strategist ultimate, but of course Yoinkanda don't have any of those left at the moment. Does he have an opening to try and make something work? And Crizzy realizes it, rolling on through. Invincible Pulse Cannon comes from the other direction. It seems like it was well blocked out and punished by Frankie, who likely took to the air and assaulted Tony Stark.
They have created an opening. Portal is available, but for it to be dropped here, someone needs to touch the point. Zoning away the Winter Soldier, who soldiers fists in to try and take it, but is immediately picked up. And that portal will come in too late, and we'll just get cancelled and immediately stunned out by 424.
Oh my god, wait,
what?
Jonathan Penny is just the one. I think that they were trying to do some counter portaling from Frankie Boxing in case 424 was unable to deliver on the Cyberweb snare. But you know what? Good platforming by my Penny player. The Spider Merchant is getting some value by shutting down that recontest, essentially securing this first point for Dusty.
And Dusty continued to push on in with 2 minutes and 42 remaining. The Penny is flanking in the backline, causing problems as Frosty tries to duel into Monkmuna. Etsu is taken out by Orion from downtown, sieging in from the distance. Media M to try and zone them out. There was Yoinkanda realized there's a Penny in the backline that just runs so far towards the enemy team's base that it can't reach.
Snaze pulls a quick Uno reverse there on Frosty, eating up the Invincible Pulse Cannon with the Meteor M and dunking it down onto Tony's head. It's an unfortunate day for Infinite Pulse Cannons. However, 424, what are we cooking back here? It's a single weasel, not a boogle, but it's a weasel nevertheless. Tetcher in the back. Dusty have 5 ultimates to try and break through this one. They do not have a Mantis. CMD already coming through with the God of Mischief copy is going to be able to use their own Soul Resurgence, but it's almost over already, and there's no forward progress to be seen here for Dusty.
This Weasel's got far too many legs, but it is still causing issues in the backline. The spideriest Weasel I ever did see is just trying to land those cyberweb snares to lock people down. Squirrel Guard coming out as well, making it very difficult, punishing reinforcements, but Monkmuna is also flanking. Unbeatable Squirrel Tsunami comes on out, and Monkmuna takes the 1v1 versus Orion.
Here comes the Invincible Pulse Cannon trying to shut down the Mantis. Frankie Boxing just trying to make sure that Frank's damage is mitigated for the moment. Even more nice play from Frosty. Just predicts that Etsu's going to try and round the corner, getting greedy with the ultimate. It's a good prediction in the midst of all of this. Look at all those mines doing 0 damage to the group, unfortunately, who just backs away from them. Into the back, though, 2 strategists taken down by CMD after they were battered around by 424 with this placement of the Spider Time. It's getting some real value.
The flanking Penny sets up a complete lockdown on the approach. They would have to take the full wraparound here as Yoinkanda forced to regroup. The pickup from Frosty. 424 cutting off any retreats. Goodbye, Vertigo. They drop the Eternal Bonds into the mines. Exactly what you want to see as a Penny player. And Dusty, they're doing it, leg day. They're heading towards point 3.
I'd like to submit my formal apology in writing to 424. I didn't realize you were the Pote. That's my bad. Game a new ball like that. An attempted cyberweb snare there onto the Iron Man. It's going to miss, so 424 is going to have to flee away, but not before doing a little bit more trolling on Blacks in the midst of all of this. Frankie Boxing isolated by the Thorn Lash walls, but plenty of healing should be able to come on through from the Cloak and Dagger in the aftermath as Frosty builds up a plan for their next ult.
Etsu has abandoned the Punisher back onto the Psylocke to try and snipe the Squirrel Girl. Already taking them down once as Dusty forced to regroup, forced to back away. Frosty dropped low and punishing the Penny, who is still on the flank.
Everybody gangster till we see Penny on their flank. That much is for certain. Wrapping around the back, 4-2-4, claiming some new territory, is going to start moving these little spider mines around, and out come a couple of stuns here and there. The unbeatable Scroll Tsunami. Oh, CMD at the end of their tether, at the end of the bond, gets caught by the nuclear blast, the invincible pulse cannon from Monk Mudder. But most of Yoinkanda have been overwhelmed. This Fro girl, she's doing so much. She's hitting him with a knuckle. Frankie, Frankie's just settling the portal. Does not care about the. This match is not reality. Whatever 14,601 things Doctor Strange looked into, he did not see this.
They've portaled them in. They've set the trap. Finally, Venom is able to break the containment. They're fighting Monk Mudder on the flank to prevent any invincible pulse cans, but it's not even charged yet. They're dropping low. It's Spider time, but is it Dusty time? They're centimeters away, Leg Day. As 44 is trying to cut off the reinforcements, but we're already going to see CMD and Frosty getting taken down. They've got 6 seconds left. Frankie Boxing is on the point, so we can't portal them back in. I have Monk Mudder to try and buy the extra time, but they are taken down. It's 4-2-4 on the penny for Dusty's tournament life. They are taken down. The reinforcements aren't there. It is GG as Yoinkanda keep the sacred timeline and will take the map in a 3-2.
Having to cull the divergent branch where Paddy was getting value. Typically, the last hurrah was Sylvie falling to a bunch of spider mines. Well, Dusty, their tournament run might be over, but we can't say that it wasn't an entertaining last hurrah. What the Skalds will sing of this day as the Icelandic team who played the penny and the Squirrel Girl kind of almost took Yoinkanda to their limit.
7 final hits on the penny, 14k damage, which is almost